Hey, everybody, welcome to Text Request Talks, where we have conversations with business leaders about how they make things happen. Presented by Text Request, the business text messaging platform that lets you text from your office phone numbers directly on your computer or any other device so you can stop making phone calls and start actually getting responses. Learn more at textrequest.com. I'm Kenneth Burke, and today we're talking with Rick Popio, who is a multi-brand franchise owner for Outdoor Lighting Perspectives and for Canopy Lawn Care, and also runs multiple territories of each. So, Rick, it is great to talk to you today.
Great to be here.
I want to start off with this question. Your background is one I think of as one of transitions. And I want to start with going into franchising to begin with. You were in corporate America beforehand and decided franchise ownership would be a good next act for you. So, can you just talk me through a little bit of that decision making process?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I really never considered a franchise prior to that, but exploring everything that was out there, thought that this could be something really good. And being that I was also a client of Outdoor Lighting Perspectives before I purchased the business, helped a little bit, right? And knowing a little bit about the brand and that the brand is headquartered here in Richmond was a pretty big help or a key in that decision making. Uh,
And you got your first location about 6 years ago, 6.5 years ago. Is that right?
yeah, 20 February of 2018, we closed on the Richmond market for OLP and started going from there. I had two installers, and we were working out of a 10 by 10 storage unit, doing three, four, five, 3 or 4 installs a week, and if that, and just kind of, I thought this could be a great segue to retirement, actually.
Has it turned out that way? I know a lot of people go into franchising thinking it will be maybe something that they can kind of set and forget, or it is a great retirement gig. Or I guess tell me a little bit about how your expectations met reality that first year or so.
Well, thankfully the guys just didn't want to. They didn't want to be stagnant, so they wanted to grow, and that was great for me to hear. And you know, really, I wasn't the type of guy to sit around and kind of muddle along with what they were doing, but I wanted to kind of get a feel for what the guys wanted, and if growth was the piece of it, then I wanted to really get out there and do that. When you ask about retirement, I'm actually working more now than I've ever worked, but there's a difference being your own boss, right? The work is more enjoyable. Plus, the clients that we have are incredible, and the people that we have in this organization, the culture we've created, is definitely second to none. Makes me want to get out of bed every morning and come to work.
Tell me more about the culture. What is it? How did you cultivate it? Did you do it? Was it more from the brand, the larger brand that created it, or
I think it's a combination of both, and I think coming from the sales background that I've had, it was all about the client relationships, and we were going to succeed um, based on us developing a best in class client relationship from the moment we walked on their property, not only after we left, but beyond after we left. And it's really creating that for the client and that culture and that experience for the client, but also teaching that type of behavior and that type of, I guess, skill set to our people to allow them to develop that same relationship with our clients. It wasn't them or the installers just going onto the property and installing lights and saying goodbye to the client. And then I wanted our people to interact with our clients and develop a relationship and a rapport with those clients, and those clients to feel comfortable in those folks being on the property for 4, 6, 8 hours a day, maybe multiple days, depending on the size of the installation. So it's creating a culture that really is fun to be around, fun to be in, and it just breeds you know success.
what are you doing to acquire those customers to even have a shot at building those relationships?
So, there's various mediums of marketing that we utilize, and when we utilize print, we utilize, Google Ads and social media, and all of that has become a bigger part as years have passed into getting your name out and your or our name out and our message. And being that we're really a visual product, that really helps, right? All that helps. We also utilize direct mail, every door direct mail by the U.S. Postal Service, professional direct mail. We do flyering in various neighborhoods. So we have a wide range of marketing mediums that we utilize. The biggest thing that is gets the attention for our clients or for potential clients is our work, right? So when we complete a job, we utilize yard signs. Neighbors walk by that yard taking walks at night in the summertime, and they notice something different. And they see our yard sign. We do radius mails after we do work, so that whole neighborhood gets canvassed with a direct mail piece, and that helps. You can talk about utilizing one specific piece of marketing, and but you can't just use one to be successful. You have to have a little piece of everything.
Do you handle all of these sales and marketing for each of your territories, or is some of that handled by a corporate office?
So my general manager also does design consults and sales. I also do the same thing he does. So we share that. And then our crews are all trained, and they know how to sell. They know our product. They know what our goal is. So if they're on site doing a service, they can sell any product we have. They can talk to the client and engage the client, and that's the whole piece of the client experience, where they're developing that rapport and that relationship, where they can be talking to the client. Maybe we miss something as a designer that now becomes a hot topic for the installer and the client to talk about. And well, we have extra lights on our truck. We can put it in right now. So it's a combination of really working as a every cog in the wheel just working together.
Speaking of working together, whenever you purchased this location for outdoor lighting, it was you and two installers, I believe you said,
Hmm.
and you've grown to many more installers, and you have a general manager now. Has it been like to build that team, and is there anything that you've learned along the way?
Yeah, I've learned a lot. Again, my general manager was with me from day one. Was an installer and grew into that, and you know going from two to three to four, to where we are now isn't an easy process. Doesn't happen overnight. Everyone in this business and every other business struggles with finding the right people, and it's not an easy process, and it's not a process that happens overnight. So whereas we have a great team right now, there have been, along the way, bumps in the road, right? Where you have to get through those things, and you have to forge forward, in order to get where you are today. So, you know, having the team you want is a process. It's an ongoing process as well. It's not just when you get the team you want, are you done? No, because you got to really show, the possibilities of future growth for some of these younger kids too. So, how do we do that? That's sales, right? We teach them how to sell things. We teach them that you're not collecting an hourly check. There's a possibility to make commission with sales, right? So if you want to make $22 an hour in your salary, or do you want to make $30 an hour or $40 an hour with what you sell? It's teaching them that they could be more than just installers.
You talk about teaching, and I know most great business leaders are also great learners. So I'm curious for you, what do you do to continually learn, or where do you go?
That's a great question. And so, you utilize books. We have such a, I've only been doing this 6 years, but we have franchisees in this brand that have been installing lights for 20 years, 10 years, 15 years, utilizing those guys, those folks, uh, for knowledge is a great resource. The and I call the OLP brand, I call it a family, because everybody is willing to help everybody. It's not about just them and what they're doing. It's about those that are successful. How can they help others become successful? It's about, the more people you pull up, the higher you pull yourself up.
And it's, well, a question here for you, more than a statement, really. But you've got all those franchisees you're talking about for OLP or outdoor lighting perspectives. You also have uh, this new brand, Canopy Lawn Care, and then I believe both of those are owned by a parent company called Empower Brands,
That's
who
right.
has multiple brands. And so, do you get chances to interact with franchise owners across all of the brands, or walk me through that maybe family of owners relationship?
Yeah. So, here locally in Richmond, I have a great relationship with Architect Spencer Monroe and Conserva Irrigation Jeff Lebrecht, Koala Insulation, Bumble Roofing, um, Superior Fence and Rail. There's so many different owners here locally that you can utilize, but also working together. Because I'll give you an example. With Canopy, we work really closely with Conserva because irrigation and lawn care go together, right? So we do that. And with OLP, when Conserva gets slow in October with turndowns, we actually bring their crew over and they install Christmas lights for us. So we really work closely with some of our sister brands, and not just with the labor aspect of it, where with OLP or that, but it's also knowledge and client referrals. Whereas some of these lawns from Canopy, we may notice or find that there is an irrigation problem, and we can refer that client to Conserva Irrigation, and they can really get one stop shop to help solve their issues as a homeowner.
At what point did you decide to add another brand to your ownership?
You know, um, the brand has been expanding for the past year and a half, and they've been bringing in new opportunities. And really, it was probably last year when I heard that they were bringing something else on lawn care wise, and um, I thought that would be pretty interesting. It's a recurring revenue. It's a recurring revenue model, and I wanted to really know what the hook was. And really, the hook is scientifically safer. They have more natural fillers than most of the others. Right? It's not an organic solution. That's tough to do in lawn care. From what I've learned, right? I mean, you learn something every day, right? And and so uh, it was. I thought to myself, it was a great opportunity to get on the ground floor uh, and make an impact. And so I've been having a great time learning that end of the field, because we go from lighting to lawn care. That doesn't really even mix, but you're always learning, right? You've got to be open and willing to learn something new in order to expand your, I guess, your portfolio or your business, I guess, going forward.
And speaking of learning new things, you went from largely being in telecommunications before all of this to getting into home services. At
Yeah.
Text Request, we're in telecommunications, and I can only imagine what it would be like to go into home services, separate from this. So tell me or walk us through that transition. What was this entirely new to you? Had you run some home services businesses on the side before? What was that transition like?
Well, it was a huge transition because, going from telecom to low voltage lighting was scary. It was unknown. It was like walking through a door into the dark abyss, right? But having the team that I had coming into it, I knew they were going to be able to help me learn that business, and coupled with, I guess, how I've spent my career in developing relationships with clients or customers, right? And knowing what kind of client experience I wanted to create here. That all was, I don't want to say it was already learned, but it was just adjusting that a little bit, and then learning the lighting piece from my team, right? And understanding that they were the key to my success in the knowledge that I had to have for this industry.
Do you remember how long it took you to sort of make that transition to get up to speed on the, I guess, the hard skills here, even though you brought all the soft skills with you?
Yeah, it wasn't overnight. I would say, and again, I don't, I want to say that you're always learning, right? And I'm still learning things. Um, but for the core products, it was probably a good 6 months to a year, right? I mean, I was always comfortable selling and getting in front of clients, but really getting the core basics, uplighting and path lighting down, and then really expanding into some more architectural stuff in hardscape and things like that took a little bit longer. And it's all based on, we have some great manufacturers that work with us, and understanding what actual each product does and what kind of light it puts out, and what are the applications for that particular light, as well as a little bit of creativity and ingenuity from myself as well as the team.
Keep talking about learning, keep talking about continuing education. I see you have a book on the table behind you. So I'm curious, is there a book that you would recommend or that's been particularly impactful for you?
Man, that's a great question, because you say one book, but just because you read one book doesn't mean you're an expert on everything, right? So there's multiple books. Like The First 90 Days is great. That's a great book that I read a long, long time ago. Um, uh, there's lessons. I mean, there's Traction is a great book on developing teams. Row the Boat is a great book. You know, all these books can add knowledge to one, to your goal, to your mindset, to your culture. uh, and it's not just one book that makes a person, or one lesson, right? You're not going to join the PGA Tour just because you take one golf lesson, right? Or you can shoot par at one specific golf course. There's multiple things that go into that, and the same thing is when you ask that question, what one book? There's a I can run through a library, and it could be all of them.
Yeah, I often think when it comes to reading, because I love reading as well. If I can get one or two takeaways from a book, it's worth the time. And then that just compounds, the more you read, the more you consume, as long as it's good stuff. Um, what has what is this experience getting into franchising and being in it now for over 6 years uh, been like compared to what you expected? And I guess, is there anything you would recommend or suggest to others who may be looking to move from a corporate position to potentially ownership of their own?
Yeah, I do quite a bit of confirmation calls from new potential franchisees, and the biggest thing that um, I get is, the question is all obviously is how much money can you make, or this, but that's all dependent on how much you want. And I always tell these guys and girls that, you know what you get out of it is what you put into it, right? Um, but it's also about knowing, having a plan on marketing. How are you going to get the name out? How are you going to get what you do out to everyone? And then understanding not only that message that you're going to send, but now who are you going to send it to? What is exactly your target demographic, right? And then where do they live? Are you going to blanket it, or are you just going to send it to your target people, or are you wasting dollars sending it to people that will never be your clients, right? So understanding what your target is, what medium you're going to use to get that message there, and then exactly what is the message, right? Understanding all that. Um, and then I asked those guys to go back to their markets and really figure out based on what we talk about either with Canopy and OLP. Now, Canopy is a more broader target than outdoor lighting perspectives, but knowing that target demographic, where do they live? What do you know the pockets in your market or the potential or the potential market you're buying, right? So the advice I have, it everything can be successful, but it's based on how much work you put into it, as well as what you know about it before you go into it.
Well, Rick, this has been great. I've asked you a lot of questions, so I just want to end with this. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you think other business leaders need to know about, or any one last thing you want to share?
I got to tell off the top of my head, no, but there because there's so much. Uh, People that are thinking about getting into this need to know, and the research they have to do. And even if you're into it, your learning never stops. So I can tell you that I've enjoyed our conversation, and if we had more time, I could talk forever. But it's been a pleasure answering all those questions.
I appreciate it, Rick. Thank you for being here.
No problem. Thank you very much.